What's up, guys? Jason up, New Year's Revolution down here in the cave for just a random thought video. I am watching Growing Pains. I finished Different Strokes and immediately jumped right into my next 80s TV show on DVD, Growing Pains. And I'm about 4 episodes away from completing season 2. I think there's 6 or 7. Whatever. So I'm well on my way to wrapping up season 2. And this show has catapulted to one of my favorite shows of all time, and I'm only 2 seasons in. And it got me thinking, why am I so into 80s sitcoms? And I guess the simple answer is, well, because they're from the 80s, and I love everything about the 80s. No, it's deeper than that. And so I really wanted to figure out why. I mean, when I watch this, it's really kind of bittersweet for me, because I watch it, and it's so good, and I find myself not even really caring all that much about what the episode is about, and rather focusing on everything that's going on in the episode, the family dynamics, the home, the relationship between the parents, the relationship between the kids, the relationship between the parents and the kids, stuff that's going on in the school scenes, in the social lives. I mean, I'm really just like zoning in. And I say bittersweet because it's sad, honestly, because, I think for kids that grew up with TV like we did, 80s kids, I think we, compared our own family to sitcom families. And of course, most of the time, we're sadly disappointed when we compared our own to the Cosbys or to the Keatons or to the Seavers in this case. Sadly disappointed. We didn't measure up. And I think it took 46 years to realize that it didn't measure up because people wrote these shows. Yeah, it took 46 years for me to realize that people write these shows. And I said something the other day, and somebody agreed with me, and I don't know if they just agreed with me just to agree with me, but I said, I think sitcom writers, especially of the 80s, wrote what they wished that their families looked like. And I don't know if that's the case, but when I watch them, I know that I wish that that's what my family looked like, not only back then, but certainly today also. And we're paling in comparison. And then I started thinking, what is it about these shows? And of course, the shows that stuck out the most to me, you wouldn't be around in the 80s. You wouldn't even be a thought, but you're here now, aren't you? And you're interfering with my show. The TV show families and the TV show homes that get me going the most would be certainly Growing Pains, Who's the Boss, the Family Ties family and home, Different Strokes, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the show. The home and the family life I was envious. The Cosby Show, certainly the Cosbys. And then even going back to like, why did I love shows like Leave It to Beaver, the Brady Bunch, Wonder Years? They weren't from the 80s, they weren't representing life in the 80s, but it was still about a different looking family than my own, and a better family than my own, I guess I would say. Now, before you say, well, it's TV, dummy, yeah, I know that, but still, it makes me long for something that may not have ever existed, but did. Because, I had friends in the 80s, and I would go to their houses, and it would feel good. It would feel a little bit like what I was watching on TV. So I kind of broke it down a little bit today. Like I'd already talked about, the family dynamics is so appealing. The closeness. Especially in Growing Pains. Growing Pains is such a good show. Such a good show. Everybody in this little family is so great. So great. The parents are fantastic. Alan Thicke is awesome. Kirk Cameron is great. Little Ben is great. Carol is great. Maggie Seaver is great. They're great. It's a great, great show, a great family. I love watching relationships between parents who are playful and flirty and kind. And again, does that speak to who we are today? Does it speak to who we were back then? I think it speaks to who we are more today. I think we've gotten less kind. My kids certainly do not grow up watching their parents interact as if we were a sitcom family. No, indeed. The sibling rivalry in these shows is pure and innocent. Again, written. I know that. Okay, I'm not. Let's not get it confused. I'm not blurring the lines between reality and television, but I just love the sibling dynamics. The love, the loving families that are portrayed every episode is something that you can get lost in. And the silliness, right? Okay, again, it's a sitcom. They're performing in front of an audience. Jason Seaver, Alan Thicke has to do silly stuff when he's alone in his own kitchen, like dance while he's cooking food, because the audience needs to see that and be entertained. But what if people really lived like that? What if people were that happy and that fun and that silly that even when they were alone in their kitchen, because in one episode he's cooking and it says he has to shake the dressing before putting it on a salad. So the instructions say shake before opening, and so he goes okay, and he starts dancing, he starts shaking, right? And the audience laughs, and obviously he's doing it for the audience in television. But what if somebody is just that fun and cool and silly and innocent and pure and happy that they do that without an audience? Is that so bizarre to do that? To be that happy that you do something like that? I don't know, but I like watching it. They love life. Sitcom families love life. Obviously the houses. And look, the 80's house, the 80's themed house, my own project, my own fantasy, is knocking on my brain again. And not to get into too much, stuff, but the 80's house is not a undoable concept. It's undoable right now, but it's not undoable 10 years from now. I mean, I'll be 56 years old in 10 years. I have to think that I'll still be into this stuff. I don't know. The 80's house is not a dead concept. It is possible. And I've been thinking a lot more about it lately. In fact, there's a show coming up, maybe a series, exclusively talking about what if there was an 80's house. But a lot of the draw to these shows for me is I get to look at the houses, right? Because they were actually filmed in the 80's. And so all of that stuff, all that furniture, all of that background stuff is actual 80's product, right? It's not like the Goldbergs, right? The Goldbergs was a great show. I stopped watching it several seasons ago. It was a great show, but it was manufactured 80's stuff, right? It was kind of like, all right, we got to go around and we got to get everything that we can find. This stuff was from the 80's, so it was actually very legitimate. I've talked in the past about comfort and how I think comfort in homes is a lost art, dare I say even an 80's concept, comfort in homes, which is silly. It's not an 80's concept, but it's a concept that I miss. These houses on these sitcoms, the Family Ties house, the Seavers house on Growing Pains, even the Golden Girls house is so comfortable. It screams comfort to me. And I don't know if it's just the classic furniture. I don't know if it's carpeting. I don't know if it's just the warmth of the home. I don't know if it's the less technological decor, right? There's no televisions on the wall in the 80's, in these 80's homes, right? There's no over the top, artsy design stuff. It's just, I mean, there were there were certainly 80s homes I'm thinking like of an 80s like business Wall Street kind of guy. You know, you've seen those movies like Wall Street where they've got these over the top art pieces and uncomfortable couches. But for the most part, the 80s home was well represented in these sitcoms. And I think that's a big reason why I love these so much, because I just find myself looking past the characters, looking at past what's going on these shows, and observing the whole environment, the whole setting, right? I've always been such a mark, I guess we'll say, use a wrestling term, such a sucker for the dinner and breakfast scenes from 80s sitcoms. I love them. I love them because I don't think I ever got them. Yes, I certainly ate dinner with my family, but it never looked like it does on the sitcoms. Breakfast especially. Okay, in most of our lives, breakfast is fly by the seat of your pants, grab a donut, it's way too early, I just got up 10 minutes ago, do you really think I want to eat? Who has time to make bacon? Who has time to make pancakes at 6:30 in the morning? Why is it so bright outside? Why is everybody awake? Right? That's breakfast of today. Breakfast in these 80s sitcoms, it may as well be like middle of the afternoon. Everybody's up, everybody's dressed, everybody's happy, there's orange juice on the table, Jason Seaver is reading the newspaper, the kids are coming down for school, mom is at the counter tossing the bacon on a plate. I mean, it's gotta be like 3:30 in the morning. These people are getting up this early for breakfast, right? But they're always so happy and so family-ish. They are family-ish at these breakfasts and these dinners. Leave It to Beaver was always a big dinner show for me. I loved the dinner scenes in Leave It to Beaver. It was just so formal and so proper, and still some innocence and silliness with the kids. I loved it. So, I don't know. I love the dinner and breakfast scenes of 80s sitcoms. I loved when the Golden Girls would eat. They would get up. They all couldn't sleep, so they'd get up at midnight and all come to the kitchen for some pie. I loved that. I loved the concept of meeting in the kitchen. I'm really rambling today. I'm really this just hit me, and I just turned on the camera and went. All right, another thing that gets me about these shows, and again, if you go back, and I talked about, whatever happened in nighttime. I did a show on whatever happened in nighttime, and I talked about nighttime clothing and comfort clothing and, the concept of being comfortable at night. I love the clothing in 80s sitcoms. Not the style. I don't mean the style. I mean the fact that they wear clothing. Again, obviously it's a sitcom, so you're not really going to live like you do in real life. Okay, but, again, watching Growing Pains, and all the kids are dressed well, the parents are dressed well in the middle of the day, maybe they're not even going anywhere, but Jason Seaver has a sweater on over his little, polo shirt. Yes, he works from home, so that might be a reason for it, but no, they're sitting around the living room at 9 o'clock at night, hanging out as a family, and they're all dressed. Yeah, they're all dressed, and I love that. I love it. I don't do it today. You know how many times I'm shirtless around this house? Oh yeah, come 7 o'clock, I don't have any clothes on. I have no clothes on. I have shorts, and that's it. And I'm walking around the house half naked. Why? Because. What am I going to wear? Am I going to wear jeans on the couch at 8 o'clock at night? But a part of me wants to. A part of me wants to. And so I have spent a year, ever since that whatever happened at nighttime, I've spent a year trying to find the right nighttime gear that makes me feel comfortable. And I think I've found them. There's a clothing line at Kohl's called Cuddle Duds. That's right. And they are very comfortable here. Nighttime clothing. I don't sleep in pajamas because I get too hot. But after dinner, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, if I'm home, I change into this gear. And I do it consciously. Because I want to bring comfort to my soul. And I'll do it with clothing. I'm fully lucid right now. Fully together. Not a single drop of Jenny Light. But this has just got me. It's just got me. So I just love that. You know, I love everything about these shows. Everything about them. And yeah, again, I think that's why we are drawn to these type of shows, because it's an image, a concept of what we probably want, what we probably didn't have, and maybe even what we don't have today. And so it is bittersweet. Like I said, it's kind of sad and entertaining at the same time. So that's that thought. So that was kind of an impromptu video. I have a couple other things coming up this week. I'm thinking about selling the NES Collection. I've already sold a couple of games. I sold on eBay. The New 80's Revolution is on eBay as the New 80's Revolution. I had a really rare, not rare, but I had an expensive game, Swamp Thing. This is like a $180 game. I sold it for $170. And then I sold one of these weird off-brand ones, Robo Demons, for $35. Those are the only two that I've listed so far. Actually, I've got the game Joshua up for sale on eBay right now at a $60 buy it now, or best offer, of course. This is probably a $55 to $65 game. I think I'm going to sell the NES Collection and pull maybe 10 games to keep and play. Double Dragon is not being sold. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is not being sold. I don't really think Mario 1 is going to be sold, but a lot of others will. And I know that I'm not going to get a ton of money for Excite Bike and, you know, Fisher Price 123, because at one point I was getting everything. I wanted to get as close to a complete collection as I could, but I want that space. I want that space. And there are so many different ways to play Nintendo games, and Nintendos are so unreliable as far as working all the time. I'm probably going to part with the games. So if there's any Nintendo games that you are interested in, let me know and we'll work something out. As I list them on eBay, I'll probably come on here and tell you there's a lot of a batch of games listed. I'm probably going to list like 10 or 12 or 15 at a time. I don't know. I got $200 for these two games alone. Never ever ever have I played Swamp Thing, and these weird games I don't even like. So I don't know. I want that space. I want that corner cleared out, and I want the room, and I want to put other stuff there. You know, I want to get some other stuff. Maybe 80s stuff, maybe more 80s house stuff. All right, so that's it. That was my ramble about why I love 80s sitcoms so much. Blah, blah, blah. You know, somebody told me the other day, and I guess I might start saying this. I don't want to start saying this, but somebody told me the other day the way to grow the channel is actually through likes and comments. And I think that's why you see every bonehead YouTuber saying, give me a like, hit thumbs up the video, hit the thumbs up, and drop a comment down below. Yeah, I don't want to be a droid. But look, if you want the channel to grow, and thumbs up help the algorithm of the channel growing, then make sure you leave me a thumbs up. I don't know, if we've got 700 views on a video, shouldn't we have 700 thumbs? So leave a thumbs up. Yeah, smash that thumbs up button. Yeah, hit it. Hit that up like these videos. Like them hardcore. Like them till you can't like them anymore. Good night now.